Alexa, what's the difference between accuracy and precision?
In measurement of a set, accuracy refers to closeness of the measurements to a specific value, while precision refers to the closeness of the measurements to each other. In computer science, the precision of a numerical quantity is a measure of the detail in which the quantity is expressed.
Okay, so that's Alexa's slightly wordy response to the difference between accuracy and precision. And not everybody realises that there is a difference. But understanding that difference can help you understand archery and more importantly understand when your archery isn't quite going how you want it. So let's have a look at the first point, which is accuracy. Now, Alexa gave accuracy as the closeness to a specific value. And the way that translates across to archery is the closeness of your arrows and where they're landing to the specific value, which is your point of aim, so where you're aiming, which in all these examples, I'm going to use the center of the target. And as you can see in this one, all the arrows are landing around the center. So if you were to draw a big circle around those, let's do it. So if you drew a big circle around where your group was and put a cross through the center, you end up with your point of aim. So what that means is the arrows are landing in and around where you're aiming. So that means you've got good accuracy. Doesn't necessarily mean you've got good precision. So precision, as Alexa said, relates to the closeness of values to each other. In this case, the closeness of our arrows to each other, as you can see there. So in this example, the arrows have all landed very closely together, but they're a bit of a distance from our center point, which means there's bad accuracy here because they're not landing in and around here, but there's good precision because they're landing in and amongst each other, as compared to our accurate but not precise, where the arrows were a bit more spread apart. Of course, it is possible that you have neither, where there's not really any correlation to where the arrows are landing. They're not landing in a circle around the point of aim, nor are they landing particularly close to each other. And of course, what we all aspire to hit when we're doing archery is to get the balance of precision and accuracy, which we can see here. So the shots are nice and accurate because they're centered around our point of aim in the middle there, and they're also precise because they're all grouped nicely together. And if you get a grouping like that, you'll be very happy. So when it comes to understanding accuracy and precision, it's easy enough to know what it is, less so to know what you need to change in order to improve those things. And one of the easiest ones to talk about is when it comes to accuracy. So let's grab a fresh target. So if your accuracy is off, but you're still being fairly precise, like that, there's a good chance that it's just your sights that need adjusting. Because your bow's obviously shooting nicely, and you're obviously got good form because you're grouping nicely. They're just not in the right place. This could come down to a couple of things. But the easiest way to adjust that is simply to adjust your sight. Move your sight in the direction of where they're missing. Or, sorry, move your sight in the direction of where they're landing, and you'll eventually bring that back in. And you should have your accuracy landing nicely around where your point of aim is. And that's an easy enough adjustment to make. There's a couple of things that can cause the accuracy to sort of go off. If you found you have been accurate and you've changed absolutely nothing with your bow, and you feel like you've changed nothing with your shooting style, it could just be the wind. So you tend to get windage, will sort of blow your arrows left or right, depending on which way the wind is blowing. Can also move them up and down, depending on if the wind is downrange or whatever. But most people see wind left or right. And that's easy enough to adjust, just using the windage on your sight. No need to really go making big adjustments to your sight there. Another thing that could cause it, if you don't feel like anything's changed, something might still have changed in your shooting style. One example I've seen is with people losing weight or gaining weight. And that can change how your anchor sits and where your position is. And that can just make a small movement in where your hand sits relative to your sight pin, which is going to cause a change in your accuracy. The important thing there is to try and figure out whether it's a temporary thing or whether it's a permanent thing. It could just be that you've tweaked your shoulder and you can't quite get your hand in the same position. It could be that it's something that your anchor point has just changed, you found one that's a bit more naturally comfortable. If it is more of a permanent thing, then it's just a case of adjusting your sights, and it's not that big drama. Now, when it comes to precision, it's a bit more difficult because there are a lot more things that can affect the precision. One can certainly be your form. If your form is not consistent, you are not going to get those arrows landing consistently. And that just comes down to practicing, working on your form, improving your form. Get somebody to watch you to see if you're doing something different each time. Because if you're not doing exactly the same thing every time, your arrows aren't going to land in exactly the same place. But another thing that can affect precision is your bow setup, particularly whether your bow's in tune or not. So if your brace height is off, you might notice that your groupings start to get a little larger. Same with your tiller and your limb alignment and your button pressure and all those sorts of different things. So if you find that you're getting good accuracy, but your precision isn't quite as good as you'd hoped, then potentially it's the bow tune. Could also be your form. And that's where it gets very tricky to work out. And that's where knowing what's going on can help you understand what you need to do. I see a lot of people who can't get very good accuracy and immediately jump to bow tuning. But if you're getting good precision but not good accuracy, your bow's probably shooting fine, and it's more something to do with your aiming or your point of aim, or something along those lines. As I said, precision's a bit more difficult because it could be either. It could be yourself or it could be the bow. If you've done a bow tune and it's all set up nicely and it's still not quite getting the precision you want, it could just be you, it could be your consistency, and that's certainly something to look at. As hard as that is to admit sometimes, that it comes down to that, it can just be little changes in your form. So when it comes to precision with your form, that can come down to a lot of things. You know, if your anchor point's not quite precise, if you're gripping the bow slightly differently, if you're drawing slightly differently, it can change your precision. But some of the easier ways to tell when it comes to precision, if it's your form, is if you start getting fairly straight patterns on things. So here we've got the arrows that just go in a nice straight line upwards. That can be an indication that between each shot, your anchor point's just getting a little more sloppy. I'm kind of exaggerating here, but as you bring that hand down, it's going to raise your arrows. Similarly with if you get a nice straight line going left to right, it could just be your ankle point is getting a bit weaker, or you're gripping the bow a bit differently with each shot. If you find you're getting bad precision, but there's just a group that's just expanding, then it's potentially something with the bow, or you're just inconsistent in a very random way, and that is a lot harder to sort of detect and work out. And it just comes down to patience and practice. You really just have to keep shooting, keep getting those arrows downrange, play about with your bow tune. But if you don't get any success with that, don't get frustrated, just keep working on your shooting. As annoying as it can be to have to sort of admit that it might be you that's the problem and not the bow, don't be tempted by constant fiddling with your bow just because you're not getting that precision. But as I said, if it comes down to accuracy, then that is something which potentially can be very easily rectified just using your sights. So that was a very short video, just going through the sort of basics with accuracy and precision, but it's something that if you understand it, it can really help you understand when you need to bow tune, when you need to just adjust your sights, or when it might just be you're having a bad day shooting. If it's something where yesterday you were shooting perfectly fine, you come in the next day and shots are all over the place right from the beginning, it could be either way. You could just be having a bad day. It could be that somehow when you've been setting your bow up, you've put the brace height wrong, you've knocked a limb and it's got out of alignment or something like that. But if you're shooting fine for 4 or 5 ends and then you start having a couple of bad ends, it's probably not your bow that's gone out of alignment. They're pretty robust. They tend not to move about. It could be something like your arrow shell's been knocked or something like that. But there's a good chance you're just getting tired, or you know, you just made a few mistakes on a few ends. As hard as that can be to admit. So if it's something like that, consider that it might just be you're having a bad end, and you just need to keep shooting through it. Don't be tempted to start tuning your bow at the first moment that things start going wrong. So that was just a short little video talking about the difference and how they can help you understand when you need to tune your bow and when you maybe just need to practice shooting a bit more. I hope this video has been useful. Let me know in the comments if it's not been. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help the channel. So apart from that, I'll see you next time.